In Mark chapter 6, we see a miracle of Jesus that is probably one of those miracles of our Lord that first comes to mind when you start thinking about his power. And interestingly, it follows on the heels of another miracle that probably comes to mind, and that is the feeding of the multitude with just 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And immediately after that, we find something that takes place that settles our mind on how we think about Jesus, about his power. In Mark chapter 6, beginning with verse 45, I want you to notice what we read. Mark 6, verse 45, immediately he made his disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side of Bethsaida, while he sent the multitude away. And when he had sent them away, he departed to the mountain to pray. Now when evening came, the boat was in the middle of the sea, and he was alone on the land. Then he saw them straining at rowing, for the wind was against them. Now about the 4th watch of the night he came to them, walking on the sea, and would have passed them by. And when they saw him walking on the sea, they supposed that he was a ghost, and they cried out, for they all saw him and were troubled. But immediately he talked with them and said to them, "Be of good cheer, it is I, do not be afraid." Then he went up into the boat to them, and the wind ceased. And they were greatly amazed in themselves beyond measure, and marveled. As we read these words, we see that after Jesus had fed the multitude, he sent the disciples by boat across the Sea of Galilee, and he went up to the mountain to pray, and then he went to them walking on the water. Now the disciples, among them there were several seasoned fishermen, were struggling because the wind was against them and they weren't making very much headway. And so Jesus, walking on the water, would have gone by them, but they saw him. And they thought that he must be a ghost, and they were afraid, they were troubled, and they cried out in their fear. And Jesus calmed them. And in the other gospel accounts, we see another event that took place when Peter was able to walk on the water, albeit only for a moment, before he lost sight of Jesus, as it were. But notice what happened after that. Mark chapter 6 and verse 51, "Then he, Jesus, went up into the boat to them, and the wind ceased. And they were greatly amazed in themselves beyond measure, and marveled." Think about those words that Mark, by inspiration, used about how the disciples viewed Jesus. They were amazed, a word that means just that, to amaze or to astound or astonish, but not just amazed, they were greatly amazed. It's a word that means exceedingly, so amazed and well beyond that. And then we are told they were greatly amazed beyond measure. Now we've already gone beyond amazed. Now they go beyond even that. It means in an extraordinary way, or beyond, as it is translated here. And we are told they marveled. It means to wonder, to be astonished at something. When we see how the disciples viewed Jesus when he had walked on the water, and then when the winds ceased, when he got into the boat, and we see their reaction, we are reminded today, don't let yourself get jaded to who Jesus is. Don't lose sight of his greatness. Don't lose sight of his glory and his power in your life. I know that there are challenges that you face. You're going to face some of them today. I know that there are troubles in your heart. You carry them with you every day. I know that there are pains in your body. If not today, then one day it's going to come. But in the middle of all of that, In the middle of living this life, in spite of those other things, I want you to look to Jesus, because he is the one who can help us when we are troubled. In your life, be amazed and astounded by Jesus.